Welcome to the Douglas Murray channel. In this interview, Douglas Murray shares his perspective on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, addressing controversial issues and debating passionately with his counterpart. You can't afford to miss this discussion, as the complexities and differing viewpoints of one of the most enduring conflicts in modern history are highlighted.
Actually, I can tell you he didn't actually say that, but it's a quote often ascribed to him. But the point is there. Douglas Murray...
But the point is correct.
OK, I'll take the point. There's no record of him ever actually saying it. Let me ask you, Douglas, about this. You and I debated this a lot. You have a very firm position, completely behind Israel, which I completely understand. Does anything that's going on now in terms of the withdrawal of so much support now from allies of Israel, does any of it give you pause for thought about how this actually ends? Because I'm not sure the Israeli government knows how this ends, and that concerns me.
Well, I think the Israeli government knows better than most people, certainly most pundits, about how it might end. I think that there are several things I have to say in reply to Mr. Barghouti, by the way. First of all, when I was on this show last with Mr. Barghouti, he said that he hadn't said something he said, and we actually had to issue a confirmation on the programme subsequently that he had in fact said the words that he had denied saying, but that had come out of his mouth praising the so-called martyrs. Let me say two other things. Firstly, on the question of the West Bank, frankly, in Israel, there are very few people in Israel who believe that even if you can have a two-state solution, now is a good time to talk about it. I was in the Knesset, the parliament, earlier today, and among other people saw the head of the left-wing opposition, Mr. Lapid. He doesn't believe this is a time to speak about a two-state solution. Why? Because if you gave a state to the Palestinians, and don't forget, Israel did give a state to the Palestinians in 2005 in the Gaza, and look what we got from it. The world got its money ransacked, the Hamas leaders making themselves fantastically rich, and then sending rockets into Israel. So the first thing is, even the most left-wing figures in Israeli politics don't think this is a good time to talk about the two-state solution because, among other things, it would suggest that there was a reward for the terrorists of October the 7th, and the reward for the actions of that day was to double down on giving the Palestinians yet another state. The second thing that has to be said about that, if I may, is that on the subject of the West Bank, if you go to the West Bank, as I was again the other night, and if you stand in the hills overlooking Israel, you will see from those hills the lights of Tel Aviv, the city I'm standing in at the moment. You will see the lights of Haifa, and you'll see the lights of Ben Gurion Airport. Now, knowing what Israel knows about what Hamas did with the Gaza, making it into a military infrastructure and firing rockets at southern and central Israel, why on earth would the Israelis give another piece of territory which they didn't have security over in the West Bank to another Palestinian faction, which would have the ability to fire similar rockets at every single part of Israel? And I need to add one other thing, quickly. On the subject of the Palestinian Authority, many people outside Israel seem to think that the Palestinian Authority is, as it were, the peaceable wing of Hamas, or is the sort of Sinn Féin to Hamas's IRA. That is not the case. The Palestinian Authority, as well as being a deeply corrupt entity, which I don't need to tell Mr. Barghouti about, he knows well about that, as well as being a deeply corrupt entity, the Palestinian Authority that is funded by the Israelis, as well as the Europeans, the British and the rest of the international community, pays salaries to terrorists. It pays salaries to the people who kill people in Israel. And that is something absolutely impossible to make peace with.
I just heard Mr. Barghouti use the word disgusting, so Mr. Barghouti...
Douglas Murray defends Israel's stance amidst growing criticism and declining support for its allies. He argues that even left-wing Israeli figures do not see this as the right time for a two-state solution, citing security concerns. Is there ever a right time for a two-state solution in such a volatile context?
There is occupation.
Okay,
the international law says there is occupation.
I hear you. I'm going to go back to Douglas. So Ephraim Mervis, the UK's chief rabbi, has said that using the word genocide to describe Israel's actions in Gaza is an increasingly frequent, disingenuous misappropriation of the term. He said the use of the term was a moral inversion which undermines the memory of the worst crimes in human history and designed to tear open the still gaping wounds of the Holocaust.
Let me just quickly say this about the genocide thing. Of course that's the case. Mr. Barghouti likes to throw around the word fascist. Fine, I'll throw it back at you, Mr. Barghouti. Not just a fascist, but an apologist for terrorists. Fine. We can all throw around slurs at each other. But more important is the fact that you said that I had told lies. Unlike you, I don't tell lies. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Unlike you, I don't speak out of two sides of my mouth. I'm speaking out of one side of my mouth, and it's direct at you. So let me just correct what you just said. You said what I said were lies. Unfortunately for you, I have here with me the amended Palestinian prisoners law of 2004. Now, Mahmoud Abbas, who now runs the Palestinian Authority, signed this into law. This means that, and I'm quoting Article 2 here, prisoners, anyone incarcerated in the occupation's prisons for his participation in the struggle against the occupation will be given a salary by the let me finish my point. Will be given a salary by the Palestinian Authority. Oh, you think they're freedom fighters? Well, let me tell you another couple of things then. Because everyone watching pays their taxes, and some of their taxes go to the Palestinian Authority. Here's the budget, the Palestinian Authority in 2018. This is the PA's own budget, Mr. Barghouti, so don't lie about that. $162 million was allocated to the Prisoners and Released Prisoners Ministry. In 2018, approximately $193 million was given by the PA to families of the martyrs. There is an increasing list, depending on how many Jews you've killed, of the amount of money you get. Is the Palestinian Authority doing that or not, Mr. Barghouti? Because I have their budget in my hand.
Okay, Mr.
Murray criticizes the use of the term genocide to describe Israel's actions in Gaza, calling it a disingenuous misappropriation. He highlights the Palestinian Authority's payments to terrorists and their families as a significant barrier to peace. The Palestinian representative defends the Palestinian Authority's support for prisoners' families, citing it as a form of social security.
Barghouti, out of respect for fairness, answer that question.
Yeah, but I am sure your guest has to be a bit polite. You can't keep saying
well, you can answer that one question.
Well, I will answer it. Yes, they support the prisoners' families. They support as form of social security support. They support the. I mean, nobody. Even if you consider. Even if you consider somebody is doing something wrong, you cannot punish his children and his wife in an act of collective punishment.
This is salaries to the people who do the terror, as you well know, Mr. Barghouti.
And then you said something wrong also. Palestinian Authority really does not, I don't defend the Palestinian Authority, but I'm telling you, 90% of the Palestinian Authority budget comes from taxpayers, from Palestinian people. And only 10% comes from
the Israeli government.
Contrary to, no. And Israel is committing piracy, stealing our taxpayers' money, preventing health people from getting their salaries, preventing the Palestinian Authority from. You shut up, please. Let me answer. Can you shut up? Don't interrupt me, please.
Well, you don't answer.
Or I will be interrupting you each time you speak. You shut up. You are not the one who is asking me the questions. You're not the anchor, so shut up, please. And let me answer. I am saying what you are trying to do here is to mislead the discussion. The main discussion here is there Israeli occupation of Palestinian land or not? If people are occupied, what does international law says? International law says that people who are under occupation have the right to struggle against their occupiers using all forms.
Doesn't.
No. That's what the UN says. You can't deviate the discussion. And the main fact here is that the problem we have is that Israel is occupying Palestinian land, and Israel is oppressing Palestinian people. Since 1967, Israel conducted 1 million arrests against the 7 million people who are living there.
He emphasizes the continuous Israeli occupation and its oppressive measures against Palestinians. How can social support for families of prisoners be balanced with concerns about incentivizing terrorism? Murray reiterates that the Palestinian Authority incentivizes terrorism and questions the possibility of a good negotiating partner. The host concludes by suggesting that new leadership on both sides is necessary for peace. Can lasting peace be achieved with the current leadership on both sides?
I am the anchor, and I'm now going to Douglas respond to that. Douglas.
Two things.
His
First of all,
occupation,
Mr.
okay,
Barghouti
answer me.
talks about the
Is
Israelis
Israel
not
Barghouti,
wanting
let
a
Mr.
two-state
Murray
solution.
speak, please.
Mr. Barghouti
answer
doesn't
me.
want a
Mr.
Answer
two-state
me
Barghouti,
one question.
Mr.
Are
Barghouti,
they
let Douglas
occupying
Murray
us or
respond.
not?
Don't talk over him.
Yeah, okay, fine, please.
Mr. Barghouti doesn't want a two-state solution because he doesn't want a Jewish state. He wants the river
That's
to the
not
sea
true.
to be a Palestinian state, ruled by him and his corrupt friends. But secondly, he cannot answer the question I've put to him repeatedly.
I
This
think
is the
the main
PA budget. It rewards terrorism. And let me just finish, Mr. Barghouti, since I allowed you that right in the end. This budget not only extends to rewarding the people who carry out acts of terrorism against Jews and the families of people who do, thus incentivizing terror, and that's the Palestinian Authority.
You
The
are
Palestinian
deviating the
Authority has
discussion.
also now the Palestinian Authority has also now committed to pay salaries to the fighters and the terrorists of Hamas from October the 7th and their families. So tell me, please, Piers, or Mr. Barghouti, where is the good negotiating partner on the Palestinian side here exactly?
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this by saying this. I don't think there is a good negotiating party on either side. I don't think you can possibly have peace with Hamas still in place. I don't think we're going to achieve peace with Benjamin Netanyahu in charge of Israel and his hardline right-wing cabinet. So if you want my honest view, I think we need a completely clean broom of leadership. And that's the only way this is ever going to get resolved. But I appreciate you both for coming on together and debating it passionately. Thank you both.
This conversation with Douglas Murray sheds light on the deep-rooted issues and intense emotions surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. As both sides continue to debate, finding a path to peace remains a complex and challenging endeavor. What solutions can truly address the core concerns of both Israelis and Palestinians? Stay tuned for more updates. See you in the next video.